leave now, release your anger. You must have realized your friends were in danger.
Ow! Why slash on my hand?
It's imperative that you understand. Obi-Wan never bothered telling you about your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
There is something I must reveal then. I'm your father. 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 I'm your father.
Knock him out the box, Luke. Knock him out. Knock him out the box, Luke. Knock him out. Knock him out the box, Luke. Knock him out. Knock him out the box, Luke. Knock him out.
Hello, this is Quackcast 360. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is the fantastic Tanserine and Pitface. Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
I didn't give you stupid introductions this time. I'm slowly learning. But no Baines, because Baines is totally sick and ill in bed with headaches and shivers and chills and whatever else happens after a night of heavy drinking in Canada. No. He's well and truly ill. And so we're going to be talking about the two things. Okay, the origins of your webcomic, which isn't the origins literally of your characters, but the origins of your comic as a comic. So where did that come from in your life? Where were you in your life or at that time when you started doing your webcomic? Which is quite interesting. So it's based on a bunch of news posts by Emma Clare, and she's done 3 so far. I think this is the end of it. And she's sort of followed her journey from doing whatever she was doing to doing a webcomic and where she is today. And it's been really interesting to follow that. But we also might get into the idea of Tance's news post, which was characters changing over time. Well, what was it? Mileage. It's the mileage. So this is the way your characters retain changes that happen to them in the stories, or the stories leave a mark on them. Literal scars, or just a change of a hairstyle or clothing, or whatever. But it's reflected in, the future of the comic, rather than your character always being the same. Like the Asterix and Obelix or something like that, or Tintin or whatever, that never change. Calvin and Hobbies, that kind of thing. So
Hobbs. It's not hobbies. It's Hobbs.
Hobbs. I've always said Hobbs, but then people always said hobbies, and then I thought, oh god, maybe I've been saying it wrong all my life.
No, they're wrong. You stick to your guns.
Okay, all right, Hobbs. Excellent. I feel vindicated now after all these years. Bugger those people. Okay, well, so that's what we're going to be doing, but first I've got to get into the featured comic. And the featured comic this week was something that Quai had gotten to, and that featured comic was Red Banner. So take it away, Quai, with Red Banner.
Hello, this is Quai Gaxe, and the feature I've selected for this week is Red Banner by Hungy, and it is rated T14. Chapter 1, Red Initiative. When Lou returns to his shop, his apprentice/female cousin Lily feels like overstaying her welcome. His one goal is to learn about immortality. The next morning, Argus, a pretty boy, or Bishi type, enters the scene and greets the two cousins during their morning conversation. After a failed attempt at exploring a mysterious cave, a winged wyvern descends on the whole city. This comic is written in a manga format, so it is read right to left. Most of the pages are in black and white and created using digital ink. Learn the difference between a dragon and a wyvern and read Red Banner by Hungy, rated T.
And that was our featured comic. Thank you very much for that, Quai. Now coming up is our featured music that Gun Wallace has given us. And this week, Gun Wallace has given us the theme to Nano Critters. This is a minimalist white expanse dotted with the mysterious little marks of sound. What do they mean? What do they represent? Is it code? Read Nano Critters to find out. In the meantime, listen to this fantastic theme by Gum Wallace. Take it away, Gum Wallace, with Nano Critters.
You'll know if you don't listen.
And that was Nano Critters. Thanks for that, Gum Wallace. That was fantastic. All right, so Emma Claire's post about the journey. You guys have got the link to the well, you guys know what that post is about, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so the idea is it's she's talking about her origins, and this is the last part of it. The journey that she made to webcomics, which is a really interesting sort of journey for her, because, you know, she was at university at the time, and just I think she was just sort of trying to do a webcomic. They're doing a degree, yeah, and she was doing her degree on something, but she used webcomics for her exegesis, and she did a webcomic and did a thing about it, which is funny because when I was doing my masters, I had the option of doing an exegesis, and I was going to do it on something like this, but unfortunately I decided to do a thesis instead, which I didn't complete. And I could have so easily done an exegesis, you know, and created a webcomic for my masters, and it would be so fantastic. I wish I could have gone along the same path as Emma Claire. She's a smart one.
Take it again.
I should. So yeah, that was she was doing that, and then she moved on, and after, because she was actually studying graphic design, I remember, and after she graduated, then she got in and became a graphic designer and started making money in the corporate world. But in the end, she found she really didn't like it, you know, with the pressure and everything. And she had some sort of I don't know, some moment or whatever, where she found out, oh my God, I'm feeling all depressed, and you know, this world doesn't suit me. And she went back to webcomics.
Breakdown.
Well, it reminded me of you know, you've seen that anime, haven't you, Pit? Recovery of an MMO Addict.
I've seen like 4 or 5 episodes so far, yeah. But yeah, so that's what the main character does, right? She just kind of goes off and plays MMOs.
Exactly. She realizes she doesn't fit in that world anymore, and she sort of has this this moment, and goes off and does that instead. But for Emma Claire, obviously, it was more positive than what happens to that girl in the Recovery of an MMO Addict. And yeah, so she's really, really happy doing these amazing webcomics, and she's got this fantastic friend. I think also what happened was she was playing this online, not an online role-playing game, but she was doing this it's a kind of role playing where it's almost what we were doing with the how you're writing the characters, how you're like doing an ongoing story, and you're writing the characters, and that's what she was doing. Except it was there was a whole bunch of people participating on the forum, and they were doing an ongoing soapy or something like that, and they were getting really into the characters, and that was sort of all her time was just spent around that. Because she was not fulfilled at work, she was pouring all her creative energy into this this character she was creating for this role-playing sort of story. And she met this fantastic person through that, and that person became her partner in webcomics afterwards. But I think pouring all her energy into that sort of led her to I think it further disconnected her from her world in work because she just became so obsessed in it. But it also led her
pretty cool.
to realizing that really what she wanted to do was something more creative than being, just subsumed by work all the time.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting
That's kind of an admirable story. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to start to step away and divide your time from some work when you're not what you're used to doing.
Yeah, and to make such a huge change. And I think we've all sort of followed, I don't know, not necessarily similar paths, but we have followed our own kind of dramatic kind of paths in a way. I don't know, when I was, like I mentioned, I was doing my master's sort of thing. When I was first started Pinky TA, was doing all sorts of stuff and work in offices and things like that, and art as a painter and a sculptor and all sorts of things, and making money off my artwork. But it wasn't fulfilling, and what I really wanted to do was have a narrative work, because my paintings had always been about narrative. My pictures had always been about narrative, and I wanted to do something with that. And after the failure of my master's, and I exited at a lower kind of completion thing, right? So rather than actually having a master's at the end, I had like a graduate diploma or something. I'm not sure. But at that time, I was myself getting involved because I really didn't feel into the masters that I was studying, and I was just finding it too stressful and too emotionally weird. I was sort of playing.
What were you studying?
Interactive multimedia. So there was project management and graphic design and all sorts of animation and everything involved in it. So because I wasn't finding that, I was sort of retreating from that. So I was playing online games, and I was doing all sorts of stuff instead, and just getting super involved in that and not doing my work like I should have been doing. And I think going on and getting my crap together, exiting it with a lower point, but actually completing it and getting out of it, and then moving on to doing actual work in the workplace instead of being a student, and putting all my creative energy into a comic was just so much more fulfilling. That really fixed it for me, instead of finding myself at such a loose end like I was when I was stuck with those video games and stuff like that. Then I was, doing my comic, and finally my art was actually, there was a whole point to it, and it was really fulfilling to me. I wasn't doing art for someone else, like commissions, like I was for making money. I was actually doing art that meant something to me. And my comic character Pinky, who had started off life in about 1998 or 97, was finally actually being posted online as a comic, and finally getting her shot in the sun, because I'd posted it online earlier, like in about 2000 or something, but never really, went with it. And I was always a bit shy.
Like stuck with it.
Yeah, and I was always a bit thinking, I'm not really good enough to be doing this, and you always think that, or will people hate it, or
yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know.
Like it's almost like a symptom of almost like just being not quite ready, I think, when we say those kind of things, and not ready for some kind of reason. Sometimes it's what we say, and sometimes it's what it isn't, like I'm not good enough, or like I don't have the time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so do you think if you wouldn't have done so badly with your diploma, do you think you would have ever found the drive to kind of stick with Pinky finally and work on her till this day? Or?
I don't think so. It depends, because things could have gone very differently. I could have moved into like way more intense work, and then I wouldn't have had the time. Because when I finished that, then I had so much more time to be able to devote to that. and things went on in a different direction. So my work was way more creative based after that, and I'd get jobs sort of based on skills that I've acquired through my comic, and skills, and even jobs where they looked at my comic in order to give me the job, and that sort of really worked together for a long time, which was really good. But I think if I'd completed it and got the masters, then it would have had a back seat, and I probably would have been more into work than that. So yeah, lucky for Pinky. Just so that was that all happened. All sorts of weird stuff happened, and that was back in 2004 when I finally put Pinky on Drunk Duck. In the very beginning of 2004.
When you did that, so now we all know you as like, the head honcho pretty much, but when you first started posting Pinky, you were down in the barracks with the rest of us, weren't you?
No,
did you get, like, when did you become an admin and stuff?
No, yeah. So, like, I joined Drunk Duck in 2003, and then everything went tits up, and I had to join again in 2004. And I was just posting, same as everyone, my comic, but I just got really social on the forums, and the more social you get, the more sort of you get to know people, the more you start not just being part of the group, but you want to help out. And that's what I did more and more, and I was helping out, and then I had my own forum to be a moderator of, debate and discussion, I think, something like that. Or no, the art forum.
You were a master debater.
I was, the best of them. So
you still are.
Constantly. Just right now I am. But so I became the master debater of the art section, which was just created especially for me, and then later on of the debate forum, and then we had some sort of hacking incident by what's the name? The guy who runs Comic Fury hacked the site really badly sometime.
Really?
So fucked.
He did. Well,
wow.
Comic Fury didn't exist back then, so he was he was just a guy called Poison Ivy on the site. That was his name. He was just a general user like everyone else, but he was a stroppy little kid and had some hacking skills, and he used it to hack Drunk Duck, and he messed everything up and acted like a real dick. And there wasn't any admins working on the site, so it was just me and Subcultured, and pretty much just us two, and we were able to get Dylan, or Vault 6, which was his name, who was the creator of Drunk Duck, and we were able to get him and to come in and fix it and combat it and repair everything. And after that, Vault made me an admin to help out, because he realized that he needed people on the site sort of with enough power to do stuff 24 hours a day, pretty much, because the site was a bit of a bigger deal back then, and there was a lot more people using it, and it really needed that kind of security. So I became an admin after that. And I'll just say Poison Ivy, I can't remember what his name is, Kaio, that's his name. Kaio, when he started Comic Fury, that was many years later, he's completely apologized for everything that he did. So he's made amends and everything. So there's no hard feelings about that whole hacking stuff. That's years and years in the past. So that's all done with now. So
that's so bizarre. I had no idea that happened. That's
really?
Crazy, man. So yeah, I mean, I know something had happened, but I didn't realize that was the reasoning for it. Wow. So was it just like purely a malicious act or what?
Yeah. Just kiddie kind of stroppy stuff that used to happen on the internet. You used to get these little hacking things and just being stupid, really. Changing people's changing people's accounts and deleting accounts and putting like goatsy images everywhere, that kind of thing. So it was just this kiddie kind of stuff. But, you know, he was younger then, and he's totally different now. A very different person. Comic Fury is a very different website from... yeah, from what it would have been if he did that. I'm surprised more people don't know. Entertaining weird behaviour, of the past. Yeah, so that was... and that was my shooting up the ranks into being an admin, and then working with all the other admins, and then being the only admin left. And inheriting Drunk Duck. But now you guys are all on board as well, so there we are. So no longer alone. Drunk Duck is the Phoenix.
You've had quite a journey.
Yeah. So that was my origin on Drunk Duck, and with
Drunk Duck's origin, kind of, in a sense.
Yeah,
part of it's the origin.
Part of it, yeah, definitely a significant part of Drunk Duck, because I've been on Drunk Duck since 2003. So what is it now? It's 2018. That's incredible.
Oh, all the time you've lost.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, jeez. So
but
now,
you wouldn't change a day of it.
Oh, no, not at all. So what about you guys? What was your journeys? I think Putrid Meat started on Drunk Duck, in 2017? No, 2007, didn't it? Or...
2007, yeah. But like you, I had worked on it for some years before then, always under different names, and always just little personal things. Like, I think I've first started creating any kind of comic when I was in middle school, probably it must have been about 7th grade. I remember sitting there on the couch. It could have even been earlier, because I'd been reading comics for a long time by then. But so 7th grade, what is that? I think around 12? Something around there. 12. Yeah, and and it used to be way different. Like I had just started watching the after school Toonami and stuff like that, and so I was trying to draw this anime and stuff, and and the story, of course, was a lot different than it was now, but there was always just this main guy, and he started off as some anime character. I forget the name. There's a name for them now. But almost like those real pretty boy with the long hair, and they're always Bishi. Yes, he was a Bishi, and his name was like Akasiru or something like that, which is the Japanese word for muffler. So it's what you call your car muffler. So and that's what I thought anyway. So it came a long way from there. It always kept on changing and stuff. And up into high school, I was still, I stopped it a few times and restarted. And when I was in high school, it still was very much had like an anime vibe to it. But it was it got much more, a little bit more to what it is now. Like the main guy by then was I forgot what he was called. But he still had a little bit of that Bishi thing going, but he was a little bit more metal, and it always started off like he would go into this bar, and this bar fight would happen, and then something would go wrong, and he had to run away and leave his family, and then got killed, and he turned into this demon thing, and then it was a mess, but I was just on a continual intake of chaos comics and stuff like that back then. So that's what I was trying to emulate. And so when I turned 18, I moved out and I stopped working on my comic again. And I remember it was around when I was 18 that I think that I stopped working on it, and I went the longest stretch without working on it because I remember one of my friends asking about it, oh, don't you work on your comic anymore? I remember in high school even, I I was working on it to the point where there's this one dude, I can't remember what his name was, but I had this dude that would ink it for me, and my classmates, some of them would come and read it and see what was going on. So I had a little bit of a following in high school. It was kind of neat, but so I stopped after I graduated until about 2000. So I graduated in 2004, and then in 2007 is when I picked it back up again for like the nth time. But and I can't remember what exactly had tempted me to do so, but I guess it's just because the story had been evolving for so long in my mind, and like I want to do this eventually. I have this platform, Drunk Duck, and and back in those days, all I was doing was I was working the night shift at a medical supply warehouse. Not a warehouse. It makes it sound like Return of the Living Dead, at a medical supply factory. And and so basically I was working the third shift, and I was just listening to metal and drinking all the time. That's all I was doing with my time. And I thought, oh, you know what? Like, I'm in the right mind frame for this. I want to make a comic. So I sat down and started to make Putrid Meat. And I remember the first day that I uploaded the first page, and it was like you almost hold your breath and you press upload, like, all right, this is commit time. We're doing this. And here she is. And so, and there she went. So, but I stuck through it this time, and I did it. And I'm honestly so proud of myself that I actually saw it through to the end. And I never thought I would. So
you completed it, which is incredible.
Yeah, she's a dead duck.
Last page went up this year.
Last week.
Yeah,
1 week ago.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, so 11 years.
Almost 11. 10 and a half.
Let's just say 11.
All right. Sounds good to me.
When in doubt, always best to sort of correct upwards.
Lie.
Call that. Lie. When in doubt, lie. So what did webcomics sort of change for you in your life?
Well, I'd have to think about that for a second, because it's been part of my life for so long now that I can't imagine without it. Oh. Like, I'm thinking of, like, now that it's over, I'm thinking of what it'll be like in a few years when I haven't drawn Bones for so long. Like, if I try to draw him in a few years and I haven't drawn him for so long, will I forget how to draw him? Just little things like that make me, I don't know, not sad, but that wasn't the question, but changes, I guess. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Tanya, what about you?
Yeah.
Mine, I actually never thought I would be making webcomics in the first place, like, ever. It was completely, and it happened very gradually, like with little aggregate steps towards this outcome that I didn't actually realize at the time. So I used to be, and especially what happened to come to Without Moonlight, that was, oh my God, perhaps maybe even 20 years in the making, like the preparation that would lead me to start something like that. Because that I would ever make a historical fiction, anything, not even a novel. I always dreaded the research. And I said I would never do it.
Yeah.
But what happened was, when I was young, I always had a propensity to not like when storylines didn't go the way I wanted them to before. So when it was really digressing, or it was really getting on my nerves, like the plot armor, or everyone forgave everybody else for no reason, or there was no hero journey involved, and blah, blah. Of course, not in those terms as I'm talking about now. Back then, it was completely disorganized, as I thought. I would sit down and I had this of notebooks that I would what I was correcting, and then I would write the story again, correct it. So, personal little thing that I would always read before bedtime and stuff like that to enjoy myself and relax and go to bed. So that's how I started the narrative thing. So sometimes I felt the need to illustrate some of these things. So I started trying to draw very badly. And my father had always been an amateur artist. He paints, or used to paint anyway, in oil. And he's terrible at drawing people, but he did the landscapes very well. He tried to teach me how to draw people. So that was my official training in drawing. But I did start trying to copy from comics and all these very classic European comics piled up around because we had all the series so I did manage to create decent cartoons.
Yeah.
Me a lot. So that was the first stage. And then everything just went very stagnant because I was trying to get into a very nice prep school, and from elementary to high school, I had to study and become overnight a very good student because I was a terrible student as a kid. So all of that went to the back burner. And eventually, when I finally managed through a lot of adventures to get into that prep school, eventually I became a decent, ranked, respected student with good grades and everything. But by then I was bored in the class. And the only way to survive in there was to doodle. And I would decorate all of my textbooks with all sorts of, would slightly alter the illustrations, the covers, and things like that to be a funny cartoon rather than something serious. But then I ran out of books and they liked it, so they would give me every period. They would swap my book with theirs so that I would doodle on their book and illustrate as I wanted. And I ended up illustrating like half the class's books that way. So that was my practice, getting into cartooning and then again it paused. Nothing else happened. Being a teacher, one of the incentives that I had for the kids was that if you do well and you reach this a performance point and blah blah, you would get a little comic where the student would star in the adventure, whatever. By then I also was by then I was a professional writer, so the story wasn't a problem. The illustration was, but I became a little bit more serious to impress the kids. The kids were impressed and expected anyway. So I started going into comics like this. And then finally I putting some of that online, and that was Wolf. Yeah. And then it became its own thing. That's how I entered the world of webcomics. Completely unforeseen and unprepared for it. And from the first pages of Wolf, I had no idea about what it means to create actually a webcomic or a comic. Standards, the the guidelines and everything. I learned very, very hospitable and very helpful people on Drunk Tank. So Drunk Tank actually was my teacher.
Yeah, because the community was so supportive, wasn't it?
Extremely supportive. Like I remember, I think it was either Jinjok or I think it was Jinjok, but maybe not. Anyway, one of those senior members that for me, when I joined, seemed like, the laurel leaf lead.
The laurel leaf.
Perfectly. So he told me about, Wolf, fix your lettering and do this and that, and you'll have, and you got the hit. And I remember it still to this day. And that so much that I did school myself to start learning how to do rather than just doodle.
Yeah.
And here we are. For Without Moonlight, that was completely came all together, and it happened for two reasons. First off, because I was in a very bad emotional time at the time. I was feeling very in my national and communal, let's say, identity, because the Greek crisis the financial crisis had just started, and all sorts of mudslinging that was terrible. Even now that I'm thinking about it, it still creates an emotional reaction. Things that you would never expect that you would listen for here, for an entire people. I really anyone to experience. It's a very traumatic and very bad situation. So what I needed to do something as a countermeasure, to refute that, this is not who we are. We are people that have offered more than just, the ancient stuff, to the common humanity project, let's say. I started this historical comic.
Yeah. That was the birth of Without Moonlight and the Leapers. You were trying to redress the balance a bit of the
Yeah, and that's why I was trying to be, and I still, of course, but now I feel more confident about it. When I started, I remember myself checking and rechecking and triple checking everything so that I would have all the evidence ready in case I was called out, in case I was told that I didn't know what I was talking about. I had this enormous, ready to fall upon
all the proof,
libraries of proof.
Yeah.
That I needed to prove every single thing as Greeks, modern Greeks especially. So, but now, and it has really helped me a lot, not only emotionally, but also on a cognitive level and on a research level. I have learned a lot more things than I thought I would going into this project about a very many people, including Germans, by the way, who are not Nazis.
And that's one of the interesting things about Drunk Duck, isn't it? Is that it is a platform for people all over the world. So when there are people that want to do, say, what you've done, and saying that, there are Greeks outside of what many people would consider, the classical Greek, that you guys still exist, and that, that you're not wearing togas anymore, and you've done things, and you have your own, society. Yeah, so that's a good platform for other people like that, maybe, who want to post their stories and whatnot.
Yeah, and to sort of lend a window on their part of the world. And there have been other
Yeah.
comicers who've done that. So there was the person who did what was it? The one with the tiger. God, I can't remember what it was called, but
Life of Pi? No.
exactly. M. Night Shyamalan, exactly. No, there was this German person who did this comic about this thing with this tiger and this witch, and one of the comics that the person did was all in Plattdeutsch, which is a dialect of German that almost no one speaks, but they felt that I've got the freedom to post my comic online. Why don't I do it in this little used language and help to further promote it? And along the way they did also an English language version. It's sort of like talking about this aspect of Germany that not many people know about. Plattdeutsch, was that the low German or something like that? So yeah, this
Is that still the site? Because I would very much be interested in reading it.
I think it is. I just can't remember what it was called. Something about a tiger. I'll look it up for you. I will later on. Yeah, that's a good little comic. I'm sure you would have seen it before. They used to post it, all sorts of stuff. Gumwallis even did a theme song for it, which I can still hear in my head. I can actually hear the theme song in my brain. It's playing in my mental jukebox. So yeah, I'll be able to look it up. Yeah. So that has been a forum. So some people have gone Tanz's route and used Drunk Duck as a way of doing a comic about their own part of the world. I decided not to. The worst, because people.
Little known fact: Putrid Beat actually takes place in Chicago.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Chicago is Septica. Wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting. Actually,
some would believe it.
Not enough guns.
No,
There's just
Chicago.
not enough guns, Pip. Although that would be a good thing, because a lot of the comics about Australia that people do, well, not comics, but TV shows and stuff, are all about this kind of pretty low version of Australia. They're not really the Australia that most of us experience. They're this kind of weird, kind of cartoonish version that either the Steve Irwin kind of version of Australia or the Crocodile Dundee version or something else. They're all kind of weird, cartoony aspects. So it'd be good to give a real sort of version of Australia. So yeah, if I ever do something like that, there definitely is a kind of a way of doing it. So that's an interesting point. Tance, so Wolf was your first comic, and you've often said you sort of regret that comic and that was your early one. But so you're saying that when you came to that, you were teaching at that time?
Yeah.
What?
I was teaching I was teaching English full time, all ages, and I had at least I think if I remember right at the time, I had something like 3 classes or 4 classes per day.
Okay.
And it was quite intense because usually in our school we got either the super motivated, super intelligent kids, or we got motivated and not interested kids, so they would come across as less intelligent. So you had to really invest everything you had, bring all your guns to the party, in order to be able to bring all of them to the same output, because that was what we sold as a school, and we were very successful for that. So one of those things were to create these comics, and I had the Harry Potter one, ongoing for classes. Yeah. And part of it involved like the kids would advance, would have the narrative advantage in the story. Like I would have their characters do what they wanted if they kept up a particular level of output and stuff like that. So depending on who was doing well, the story took different turns and twists and the like. So that kept the interest a lot, and it also practice on sketching. Then I had also started teaching myself a little bit of anatomy and some basic stuff, so that it would be like what I was drawing would be recognizable human. So how that worked. And then there was also, all sorts of plays, school plays, fun fiction, poems, end of term show that was all trilogy in gangster form. There was at the time very early internet. There was this gangster clip going around, only like 2 minutes or something, about the first Star Wars movie. So what we did was we took that, and then I had to write for the other 2 movies more lines, more verses in that rhythm.
Okay, the gangster thing.
So, yeah, I think I might even have it somewhere. I will find it and send it to you so that you can hear my kids. Rappers with very Greek accents are extremely invested into their roles, especially our Darth Vader. Our Darth Vader and the Emperor Palpatine were extremely invested. To the point, like, it was so successful that we decided to actually take it to stage and have some officials from the diploma ministering council, the British council, that would give to come over and watch our kids, and they did come. Not expecting much. It was a kids show. And I remember that like it was postcard, like a Kodak moment. And there was this, the moment where Darth Vader throws the Emperor into the chute and kills him. Had instructed the Darth Vader kid to just drop, like he's unconscious. Not do the dive immediately. So, but what they did in front of the people was that the one playing the Emperor yanked the Darth Vader one over his head off the stage, right to our feet.
Why?
So, and even ice cream. But then, as he was lying down in front of us, he didn't move. He just did the thumbs up with his hand, saying like, "This is all part of the whole thing." Because they had rehearsed on their own, and I don't really want to know how they did it. How he would take him and throw him off the stage, and it would be okay. And it was a surprise for me, and I nearly had a heart attack. That's how invested they are. So I'll find it because that's a little bit of nostalgia.
Is it a video or is it music?
It's a clip. It's a music clip.
Okay.
Recorded it so that the kids would be dubbed for the performance, so that we would have no mistakes.
You can act it out.
The kids, so they would be able to do extremely rhythmic choreography that needed concentration and blah, blah.
Yeah.
So we didn't want any accidents.
All right. Would that be allowed to be on the Quackcast or not?
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. I don't see why not.
So what was one of the things that, so you were teaching, you were doing all this kind of involved clever stuff and to do with like very creative things. But when you did a webcomic, what other webcomics were there that sort of pointed the way for you? So
Okay. There were the ones that I remember very vividly was yours.
oh wow,
I
that's amazing.
absolutely went there because it felt very like almost like a blueprint. See the rules there, I would be able to easily transpose and learn. Basic. I also remember it was a Purgatory Tower.
Oh yeah,
I remember at some
wow.
point.
That was an amazing comic.
Yeah. There was also, let me remember, Jack, I remember,
Oh yeah, Jack, which was
by Sarah
Nelson.
N. And, the vampire stuff.
Yeah.
Also, something that really helped was some of the games that we had at the forums. I remember there was the fights. I don't remember exactly the name. The fights that you had the characters, yes, fighting each other, and doing all sorts of things, trying to dispose of one another. Very, very good practice. The other one that also helped a lot was a project like off hours, after hours, that was done.
Yes.
And treated the characters as the actors of the
Oh yeah,
of the
I'd
comic.
forgotten about that.
And the revisiting of the comic pages of other people. Taking a comic page from some other person's comic and reimagining it, redrawing it in your style or in a different style. Those three activities. And actually that's how I met Fit Face.
Oh wow, really?
Because I had to draw Bones and Puke in putrid meat, and Bones was. And I remember the page very well, and Bones was Puke to come with him for shenanigans, and Puke was being suspicious.
They were going to blow up a bank.
Yeah. And actually, at first, I thought that she, the creator, Face, was a guy.
Oh,
everybody does.
Yeah.
Of course. But I was extremely pleasantly impressed to see that she was a girl. I felt that we would judge a lot in terms of finding ourselves on the same page. So I follow her comic, and I also learned a lot from that. So that's that.
Oh wow, that's interesting. So not only do we have your journey, but also the fortuitous meeting that's started
Yes.
this fantastic partnership. That's interesting. Well, I think when I first started, I really didn't see comics on Drunk Duck. That wasn't the thing. For me, it was comics that were just generally on the web that impressed me. So there was one, Modest Destiny by Squiddy or whatever it was called, which was quite good. So that was a pixel art style comic. Another one was a 3D comic with custom characters by, I can't remember who it was, but the comic was called Sarah and David. And for some reason, those and a few other comics, but those particularly were the ones that inspired me because they looked like they weren't professionally done. They were done by like dedicated creators, and that's what inspired me. So they weren't done by people who were into, because I wasn't into comics myself, and I didn't really understand them, and I could tell these people weren't real comicers, and they were sort of just coming into it from their own point of view and their own way of thinking. And I thought, wow, so non-comic people can do comics. And, you can follow your own path and do your own thing, and it works. And that inspired me. And so I thought, wow, maybe I can get to that kind of position as well. And I can really tell, because the thing that I was most self-conscious about was doing comics when I didn't know how to do comics. And I didn't have any freaking idea about panels and gutters and page formats. What format should a page be? How many panels should be on a page? All this kind of stuff. And I thought, oh my God, you have to know all this. If you don't know it, will you be seen as some kind of idiot moron who should not be on the web?
The police will come and get you.
Exactly. The comic police will come and arrest you for being a pretender, a faker, a poser,
But
I remember
that's
slight. Go.
Oh, okay. I forgot what I was going to say again. I'll bring it up if it comes back up. Go on.
Yeah, well,
Say that
I'll go on.
Go on. You go on.
No.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, you chance go.
I just was going to say that off Drunk Tag, because I was limiting myself to Drunk Tag comics, the one that made me have the idea of even looking for a place to upload my stuff. That was not, of course, a comic yet. He Freelance, if you recall. It's a very old, don't know if it's still ongoing. It has this very murderous bunny in it, and this monster that transcends different dimensions and changes shapes, and it started like an alien shape monster and ended up becoming a woman. Anyway, it was very fun for a while. And then I thought, okay, maybe there are places where I can upload my doodles and start from there.
Yeah, you can be there too.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Drunk Duck, is that I don't think as many people would probably be doing their own comics if not for something like Drunk Duck, because you see people how easy it is just to make something and post it. And I think a lot of people, despite the fact that there is that initial fear for a lot of people, like, oh, am I going to do it right? Am I going to do it wrong? I'm subject to the voices of the internet if I put my heart and soul out there. Or my, Mega Man shenanigans comic. I can't think of the word, parody comic. But, I think a lot of people wouldn't take that step of uploading things or putting their things out publicly, at least, or even just picking up a pen and being like, all right, well, I've been thinking about this story for some time. Why not make it a comic book? Without something like Drunk Duck, I doubt as many people would be doing that.
Yeah, Drunk Duck encourages us to take the step and make that start in the journey. And you had a lot of people starting out exactly the same way who were doing it from a very amateur level, not knowing what they were doing or how to do it right. And yeah, you had a lot of us doing that. And people like Emma Claire, she started doing quite a few comics on Drunk Duck, quite early on before she, had all this big life experience and then started seriously doing her stuff. People like, what was that, Amelia Wu, that's her professional name. She's Amelia P on Drunk Duck. We've talked about her before, but she started out doing comics on Drunk Duck and then became a big professional and, very successful in the whole professional world. And now she's come back to Drunk Duck, but Drunk Duck was her start, which that's the benefit of somewhere like us, because we were so welcoming to amateurs and people just doing whatever they want, and it gave them a forum and it gave them the confidence to move forward and to actually get further into comics. Because, yeah, it's everyone else is just exactly like me when you start out and you think, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? You know, I'm imagining that I can create comics, but can I really? And actually there's this forum on Facebook, this group on Facebook, I should say, where it's called like the Webcomic Creators Group or whatever. And there's people always coming in and saying, look, I'm I've been developing this webcomic for years, developing it. And they've never posted anything because they've all, just been like sketching characters and doing story outlines and all sorts of stuff, but they've never had the courage to actually make it. And then they ask us in the group, oh God, how many panels should I do on a page? Or what's the benefit of posting on this site or that site? Or should I do it in this style? And you say, look, guy, it doesn't matter. Just go ahead and post it and work it out as you go. 'Cause
put your butt in the pond, man.
Exactly. Just do it and it will be amazing. Don't have to worry. But the thing is, you have to remember when you were in that position and you felt exactly the same way and you needed that push because it's just so hard to take that step. Now it's, any of us could just start a new comic if we wanted and post it on Drunk Duck or wherever and we'd be fine.
Some of us do it a little too often.
Yes. But actually when you're starting, when you are the person who is taking that journey that for the very first time, it's a totally different picture, isn't it?
Yeah, oh absolutely.
It's good to have somewhere like Drunk Duck where you can do it, because there's these people, they look at Webtoons and Tapas, which is these huge comic sites, and you just get lost in the sea there. You really have no way of getting to the top because you can't get on the front page. There's no way you're going to get featured or anything like that like you can at Drunk Duck. And people just get lost and there is no encouragement on places like that. So I think that harms the new comic creators more than anything. They need like a little incubator like Drunk Duck in order to get started.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, with the community and absolutely. 100%.
Come and be brought up in our nest. And, and you will be fine.
Drink our Kool-Aid.
It's not poison, I swear. Oh, jeez. All right. Well, thank you, guys. We didn't get around to doing the mileage, so we'll have to save that for next time. I think that's an interesting topic.
Now that we have mileage.
Yes.
Actually, in a sense, we talked about our mileage. Yeah. Now then we're going to move on to character.
Exactly. Well, when Emma first posted a topic about origins, I was thinking about character origins rather than the creator origins. And creator origins is more interesting, but yeah. So we can talk about your character origins and their mileage.
Depends on the character. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of the classic Marvel kind of character, not Marvel, DC characters who they do their origins over and over ad nauseum, and it becomes the most boring thing in the world because they're always doing the origin story.
Right. Always.
Always. All right. Well, that's for next time. So bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for being on the Quackcast.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And you know that you got it. And you know that you got it. Luke, come here right now. Did you fix the auto drawers, boy? Did you clean your room?
Chloe, I know I'm on probation. I clean the drawers. Can I go to the station? I got away on a power converter, but now you treat me like a scruffy airheader.
Luke, use the force. Run to Dagobah. Run to Dagobah. Luke, use the force and run to Dagobah. Run to Dagobah.
I'm Yoda. I'm a soldier. I'm older than folder. Thought I told ya, don't be unwise, just me not by my size. You won't believe your eyes, cause the X-Wing rise.
Yoda, why you been a play hater? You know still must confront Lord Vader.
But Luke, not ready are you?
But the city in the clouds could I keeping my crew. A Jedi has to do what a Jedi has to do, son of Vader. I'm coming for you.